Would you please join me in the pledge of allegiance?
Where all the snowboarders.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Anybody online at all? No? Our guests. Welcome. Happy New Year, and this is the January 14th meeting of the Town of Canandaigua Planning Board. Seeing that you folks are regulars, I'm not going to go through and introduce everybody. There's really been no changes. The only thing I should stress for the record, Tim Schneider is working as an active member of the Planning Board tonight. Scott Neal's got been excused. And let's see, everybody's familiar with how we proceed here, so I'm not going to go through the meeting protocols. Privilege of the floor. I will announce it. If anybody wants to take privilege of the floor, now's the time to do so. If not, we will move into our agenda. And the first thing and fellows, bear with us for a couple minutes. We have to reorganize tonight, and not that we weren't organized before, but we have to reorganize and make some appointments. So what I'd like to do, if okay with the board, is go through some of the appointments, but as far as the rules of procedure, maybe hold that to the end.
Works.
And you fellows can certainly stick around to hear our rules of procedure, but let's hold that till then. But in the meantime, I will open up nominations for vice chairman.
I'd like to nominate our good friend Bob here for vice chair.
I'd be happy to second.
Okay, Lefty LaCourse is
Oh.
has been nominated and seconded. Are there any further nominations? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations, Bob.
Thank you. Try my best.
You're my left-hand man.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah, switch seats then.
Oh, no.
All right, let's do the board secretary. Karina, I didn't ask you ahead of time. I meant to. Hopefully you're willing to serve.
You did ask me.
I did?
Responded. Yeah.
Okay,
I said yes.
okay.
Was it a good response?
To the point that I would like to nominate Corinne Hatch as our recording secretary for the planning board. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion second. Further nominations? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, as far as our experts, do I have a motion to appoint a engineering firm for the planning board?
I'll make that motion to approve MRB for approval to our board.
I'll second.
Get a motion second. Any further nominations? Suggestions? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, welcome back, Eric. And let's move on to our attorney. Do I have a motion to appoint the planning board attorney?
In his absence, I will nominate Mr. Nambler as our town attorney.
Okay.
Planning board.
Second.
Get a motion second. Further nominations? If not, all in favor of Mr. Nadler, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, you should have all gotten the meeting schedule for this year. Do I have any corrections, additions to the meeting schedule? If not, I'd like, we'll take a nomination. All right, take a motion.
I'm gonna take a motion to accept the schedule as printed. Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, that takes care of that. Work. And as I said, we'll save the rules to the end, and hopefully we'll have a little time to go over those in a little bit of detail. Okay, let's move on to the agenda. This evening we have, our first item is CPN 2024-117. It's Nixon Peabody representing Verizon Cellular for a cell tower out in County Route 8. If the board recalls, last year we had asked the applicant to provide us additional information. Also to respond to the comments that were made by the attorney representing the neighbors. And to date, we have nothing back from Verizon, so we did receive from Verizon a letter requesting continuation of our deliberations until the February 11th meeting. And if you're so inclined to grant them that continuation, I would take a motion.
I have a question.
Sure,
Where are we at on the shot clocks?
good question.
I did send a message to Chris Nadler just a moment ago, asking him whether the continuation paused the shot clock. His response was yes, most likely.
Definitely maybe.
Second edition of it.
So then my follow-up question is, what is the earliest date that the applicant could interpret as us having to take action? Because if I recall correctly, Nixon Peabody assumed that their application was in for 30 days. And haven't heard anything, if I'm remembering correctly. So I don't know how many days and what date that would be and whether we're up against it.
Well, again, it's a question I think only Chris can answer. I would certainly hope that if there was any urgency that we had to do something quickly, above and beyond a continuation, that he would let us know. I would assume in the applicant granting the continuation, that essentially, it's, my humble legal opinion is that that's them abdicating or granting, backing off of the time restriction. So I guess we have to find that out. That's all. So Chris's response was a definite maybe. That's
Well, at the last meeting, he said that he was going to get with the attorneys and hammer that out.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, I think the way it was left was Verizon was going to respond to the neighbors,
Mhm.
and then the neighbors would then, I guess, respond to Verizon in terms of what, the counter was. And then Chris was going to sit down with both parties, and he would present to us as a board what our obligations, under the Federal Communication Act, as well as our own law regarding a cell tower. None of that has happened. So,
Okay, well, as long as if somebody before our next meeting can find out what that earliest possible date is. And if need be, we have to take action at the next meeting. Take action.
mhm.
I think we should be time bound. That would be
Oh, no, no, you don't want to lose something by default.
right.
Yeah. Or grant something by default.
The understanding that I
Won't
have,
work.
and this is probably why Chris has the impression of this, there's a 150-day shot clock,
150 days.
150-day shot clock. But the government, i.e. us, can have delays that are warranted. And that's what I think he's referring to, is that by moving this with a delay, that's a warranted delay.
Mm-hmm.
So it protects us from getting sued, but it doesn't mean that they can't request an injunction against it to make that determination. That's how I would interpret it. So a clean shot clock would be 150 days.
And would that be 150 days from 30 days after it was the application?
I think it's 150 days from application.
From the application.
Will the application being considered complete?
Yes,
Probably Friday after PRC. Or date of PRC. Sometimes they're deemed that we need additional information. I'd have to look.
According to the Google lawyer, it states that shot clock begins when an application is submitted.
Submitted.
What Google lawyer says. But I'm guessing it's completion because it's not.
Yeah, I mean, submitted and
It's
completion are
incomplete.
usually 2 different dates for us. I mean, they did request the continuation. Officially and uploaded their request to their application.
What was the date of the letter for
So
continuation?
they uploaded it on the 7th.
7th of January?
Isn't that also solved by withdrawal of an application and resubmit? Doesn't that become solved in the same way? Withdrawal of an application and resubmit. Starts their whole process, but it prevents a legal.
Well, yeah. I guess as far as tonight, we'll
That's
continue.
the answer.
Yeah, but I think, as Tim said, if we get into an issue between now and the next meeting, and assuming that we're still within the shot clock of 150 days before the 28th of January, if we don't have what we need and we're under the gun for the shot clock, we could deny the application.
March 1st would be 150 days from October 7th.
So, well, we got a
Oh,
little more time.
it's 6 months.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's good to keep an eye on it, because again, the full approvals are not the way to go. Okay, so we've got a request for a continuation. I don't think I got a motion, did I, on extending it to February 11th as far as the discussion on this application?
So I have one revision to this resolution. I'm seeing the documentation should be required by February 4th and not February 7th.
Yeah, try to get it a week ahead.
Mhm.
Just something we'll talk about later. Okay,
I'll make a motion to continue Verizon application. Looking for CPN 24117 till February 11th meeting.
Second,
okay, motion second, further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next on the agenda is Mr. McDonald here somewhere?
He's on one.
He's online, okay. CPN 2024-126 in McDonald requesting a special use permit for a commercial speech sign in the CC district out on 332 at the Ironman facility. And Mr. McDonald, do you want to describe the sign you're proposing? Muted, it's muted. Yes, you're muted, Mr. McDonald.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Thanks a lot for letting me be on. What we're talking about doing is a fascia sign on the corrugated aluminum body panel there. We're going to cut out, I originally was going to do 1/4 inch thick black or white acrylic with a blue face. The client would like something a little more high end now. So what I'm proposing we do is cut out 1/2 inch thick sign material. It's going to be black. It'll be black material, and the faces will be gilded in aluminum leaf. The sign out front, the double face carved sign at the street, is carved redwood, and the lettering on that is gilded in aluminum leaf also. And then the secondary copy, the word equipment, would be the same material. Now, also, all these letters are going to be stud mounted. So they will be drilled into the building and they will sit off the building about a half an inch. They'll cast their own shadows. It'll be really cool. And that shovel piece you see will actually be cut into the blue letters. There'll be a space around it. You probably won't even see it from the street, but they're two separate pieces. Well, they're actually more than two. There's 1, 2, 3. It's like 4 pieces just in the word Iron Man and in the shovel. And then the equipment, that's pretty obvious. Those are just individual letters. On my mechanical drawing, I show 2 lines, top and bottom, a couple of accent lines. And the client, we're not doing those. The client doesn't want those as part of it. So we're trying to keep it very clean. And that word equipment will be just black copy, but also cut out of that same 1/2 inch material.
Okay. Any questions from the board?
Mr. McDonald, do you know the exact square footage of your sign?
Yes, the word equipment is 120 inches long, 8 inches tall. That's less than 10 feet. And the other one is the same way. It's about 10.5. So Iron Man's 10.5 and equipment is 8 inches. So that's 10 feet. It's like 7 square feet. So I'm at 17 square feet total. Well, I shouldn't say that. A little more with the shovel.
Yep.
But the copy is that much.
So that according to the rule, it's under the square footage frontage. That's we require. So it's within.
Yeah, you did analysis, right, Sarah, as far as the frontage versus the square footage.
Is what you're proposing different than what you turned into file permit on your application?
No, what I have, what I turned in for the permit is accurate in its dimensions and its colors. I just wasn't sure if I was gonna do 1/4 inch thick material or 1/2 inch thick. 1/4 inch is a little thin, 1/2 inch, I could do something cool, and they wanted to have some silver on the faces, so that's why, that's the only change. It's not changing square footage or how they're gonna be installed or the size.
This sign's not illuminated, right, Mr. McDonald?
That's correct.
Okay.
It's not a very big area too. I mean, we would like to have done something bigger. I think we may have been allowed, but with the pitch of that roof, it's a pretty small space. It might look big on that rendering, but it's the length, not the height, because you see that trellis piece trim up top. You know, you don't want to get too close to that or it'll look goofy.
Okay, Department of Transportation had no comments since the sign is out of the right of way. County Planning Board had no formal recommendation regarding the sign. You did request a waiver from a professionally prepared site plan. Did we note, did we note we'd be granting a waiver? Eric, I didn't get to that.
Yes, the last word as calls.
Okay, very good. Statement of operations, I think you had a one sentence statement that you had sent regarding the actual facility, what they do and so on and so forth. It's tough to come up with a statement of operations for a sign. But essentially that's what you provided. Okay, I can't think of anything else. Anybody have anything? It is within our standards as far as a sign dimension wise. And with our approval should get the issuance of a building permit to have the sign put up. So anybody else here, there, have any comments on this application? This is a public hearing. It's a public hearing. If there are none, I will close the public hearing. And we will go to deliberations. This is a special use permit with a type 2 seeker. Okay, and you got the permit and we still doing you're not doing a site plan because it's for a waiver, right? Or you're still?
No, I don't.
Okay. So we've got a seeker type 2 and a special use permit. Under the circumstances, let's take them together. Someone want to give me a motion?
I'll make that motion for approval of the secret type 2 resolution as well as a special use permit for CPN 24-126.
Second that.
Okay, further discussion? Would that drawing have a date on? I didn't, I sometimes we try to,
Which one?
the actual, the schematic. I don't think so.
It's uploaded. Tell you when it's uploaded. but don't-
All right, well, you're saying as of submitted tonight, so that's, okay. All right, we have a motion, a second for both the seeker and the special use permit. With no further discussion, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Ayes carry. Thank you, Mr. McDonald.
Thanks, everyone. So are we approved now to get a permit or are we ready to go?
You're approved to come in and see our code enforcement department regarding a permit. If you haven't
Okay.
applied already.
Okay, very good. Thanks so much for your time, everyone.
All right, next, let's move on to CPN 2024-149. Scott, you're up. It's for it's for the planning board to review multiple variances because this property has pre-existing non-conformities. So it's one of those animals that we are looking at it primarily at the variances, how they affect our deliberations eventually on the site plan, though we're not looking at the site plan tonight, that'll be a subsequent meeting. So everybody understands what we're doing. Let's go to Scott and tell us about what's happening on County Route 16.
4771 is a very challenging site.
That it is.
The cottage that's there now has a wastewater system that consists of only holding tanks. And so in order for us to do anything on the site, we need to create a wastewater system to support the new residents. And in doing so, we need to construct something as far away from the lake as possible. So the parcel on the other side of the road, which we learned recently has a different zoning classification, that's our intended target for the new wastewater system. And I think you've got the landscaping plan there, but if you could flip to the sheet, that sheet right there shows the extent of the wastewater system that we're proposing. And in order for us to achieve the slopes that we need to achieve, and to even out the grade there so the system works, we have to put in retaining walls. Retaining walls are considered to be structures. Structures are subject to your setback requirements, and we need variances in order to put those in. There are other setbacks that we need as well. There is one where we are closer to the lake than the original existing condition, so that's the non-conformity one. We are able to, however, in the other areas, achieve something greater than what is original. If the board doesn't like the setback to the lake, which I believe goes from 21 approximately to 16. I have been discussing with the owner an alternative where we would eliminate the surrounding stormwater system and raise the house up to a point where it wouldn't need that. That would allow us to push the house closer to the road and further away from the lake and achieve that original existing setback. I seem to recall in past meetings, the board has always been sensitive to the setback at the lake, and that's why I had a discussion with the owner about this and the architect as well after we submitted this drawing, seeking a possible alternative. That would, however, push us closer to the right of way. We would be a few feet non-conforming to what's existing today there, I believe. So that's kind of a synopsis of the setbacks that affect us.
You wanna show us, Scott, the variances?
Yeah, do you have a pointer or something I could use to
I usually have.
use my pen? Okay.
Yeah.
That'll work. So, let me see it, did you go up to the, or go down to the next one? I guess it would be sheet one, this is. This, it's easier to see the setbacks.
Yep.
On this one right here. So, I can't read this exactly, but, under the proposed condition, which is this one. We are slightly closer to the lake, I think we're going from
20.8 to 16.1.
We're about 4 foot closer. We are improving on this setback here, whereas we're real tight, I think we're like 3.8 feet over here. We're in the 9-6 foot there. There are various setbacks that are required along here, I can't read those. They are the dimension to the retaining wall that holds the wastewater system in place, and the replacement garage is also going to function as a retaining wall, just for your information. But that also enables us to equalize the slope across this parcel for this particular function. So, based on this design, we're getting smaller here and a little bit larger here, so we are improving the non-conforming here, improving the non-conforming here, and here and here. But we are getting closer to the lake. And as I mentioned, there is a possible alternative if we want to hold that original existing setback of about 21 feet. We could push the house further this way and eliminate this storm system. That would give us a couple of feet closer than the current setbacks that are there right now.
So Scott, if I may,
Sure.
and as you mentioned, your garage area, your septic area is on RR3 now.
Yes.
And I looked through RR3, it's now you have an accessory building on an RR3, which is difficult to even have, but it's pre-existing. And you used your setbacks for the accessory and then the front of a principal for your variance. Is that correct? That's what I got here is your RR3, you're asking for, the code is 60. The current is 5 and you're proposing 3.9. So it's interesting. And for us as a town, why can't this be looked at as rezoning, maybe even and changes to an RLD, which makes it all conforming, because we have split properties like this all the way up down the road. Because that's an accessory building.
Mm-hmm.
And our RR3 barely talks about accessories other than a primary plus an accessory.
Right.
So it's
I agree. I mean,
it's weird.
I was surprised until I took a really close look at your zoning map. I actually couldn't find this parcel to tell what its zoning was. I assumed it was RLD. And then I started thinking about, well, you know, what can we do? Is it really worthwhile to pursue a rezoning for such a small piece of property? I mean, it's just a sliver of a piece of property.
It is.
And then I thought, well, maybe the zoning board can take that into consideration with their deliberations and effectively consider that in their decision.
Yeah.
I mean, otherwise, you know, you have to go through, you know, the rezoning action, the town board and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It would seem a lot of administrative work for this little parcel.
For a little parcel, yeah. That's what you combined your accessory and your principal in RR3 to get your variances.
Yeah.
And the variance on an RLD front is less than it is in an R3, so even better, but my other thought is anyways, in the cloud, there's 5 variances required. Request,
That sounds about right.
I counted 6.
Whatever Mike came up with.
I mean, there's,
Yeah, that's why I asked you to delineate the variances because it seemed to be a little, oh, go ahead, Bob.
I thought there was 6. With on the RLD, the front and the back, of course, you're reproving the sides, which is great. And it'd be great to see that the house pushed back like you talked, Scott, that would help out a lot. And that would put the house actually in line with most of the other houses on that block. It almost seems like that way, or in that area.
Yeah, it becomes apparent when you look at our neighbors to the north and our neighbors to the south, that they are elevated up. This house was built low,
Yeah.
way low, and one of the steep slopes that actually appears is coming from the edge of pavement down towards the cottage because it's kind of steep going that way. There's actually a retaining wall that Ontario County has in the right of way. It's not really so visible, but it's there. So, and I happened to be coincidentally driving by this site on July 4th, 2023, when we had that major storm that came through. And I happened to see the owner was out in the middle of the road in his boots, watching the water just cascade across the street. So even with the storm system that we put that surrounds the building, that is based on a lower level entry, which I didn't feel comfortable with. I believe I was able to convince the owner and the architect that a second floor entry is a smarter way to go, in which case we can elevate the residence and we can fill that area in so that water goes north and south and not into the structure. I mean, I have designed a lot of storm systems over the years, but you know, it's only as good as the frequency of the storm and how well it's been maintained. And after I saw that water just cascading across Westlake Road, I'm taking a very conservative approach on this one. I don't want any phone calls after this.
Yeah. And not to mention, you're gonna take most of those trees up there to put in the septic system too.
Right. You know, I received some comments from Mike Warner, Mike Warner, yeah, on slopes and I issued a letter to him last week concerning slopes and what was absent from the county's slope diagram, which was the tennis court
On court, yeah.
that's above us, which serves to deflect the water around us. So it's kind of a good thing. If it were as steep as the county depicted it, you know, there would be some high velocity flows coming at us, no question about it.
So back to your variances, in the cloud, I counted 5, I count 6, so did you see that, sir? No. Well, the
What's
principal
the-
front
what
and
the
back
6?
on RLD is there, the accessory on the other side of the road, the rear, the north and the south is in there. But the front on R3 is not in the cloud that I can see.
That may be the case. That sounds new to me, and maybe we didn't catch it.
Front setback for your.
Where, I mean, I'm looking at it right here.
Oh, you're
Structure,
looking at the bill,
Yeah,
he's looking at the zoning law determination.
Which one are you looking at?
He's looking at the bill for the application.
so you got the rear lake on the, from the rear for the lake setback. You got the 2 north and south over where the garage is. You've got the rear setback down from the tennis court. And a front yard setback variance that's going to the garage, right, off the road.
I don't know that the front the principal buildings is required because they're improving on a pre-existing non-conformity. which is
It's not, it's a non-conforming garage there already, yeah.
If the non-conformity is improving, you don't have to.
Right. There's the one right there. That's the one.
It still doesn't mean, so it's getting better.
There you go. That's true.
Okay, so I just wanted to make sure we tied down the variances, since this is a variance discussion this evening. So those are the variances, and I guess this board has to sort of look at what's being asked for as to how we feel that could affect the ultimate development of the site.
Specifically the one that is increasing on.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I agree with the comments from the ECB that I think it's very difficult to accommodate steep slope or looking at the RLB and the shoreline guideline. But what they're proposing now, I don't know how we meet either one of those. Because they'll have to clear cut most of this.
Well, I think the fact that you're going to get a bona fide approved septic system is a plus. On the one side,
There was a long discussion in ECB that indicated that there are alternatives that could reduce that.
okay.
What would those alternatives be?
I'm I'm looking at their notes for the first time tonight, but I would suggest that you take a look at them, because there are a number of suggestions that they talk about having alternatives that mitigate the footprint that's needed. I apologize, those comments just came in.
I would just say that we're based on the New York State Department of Health standards that are there. We're agreeing with the number of bedrooms that were here originally in the cottage. And the soil qualities, the percolation and such. That's what we have to have, and even that is using an alternative system. And doing the structural support that we're doing is also, you know, an alternative as well. I mean, I've been doing these systems for a long time. I don't know of another wastewater system that you can install physically on this property. We felt fortunate to be able to get the soil results that we got in order to do this. I agree that we're gonna have to clear cut that. Most of that's shrubs and brush. There's no high quality forest in there by any stretch of the imagination. And it can be landscaped after this is all done. And it'll actually be in a better condition than you see right now. As I mentioned in my letter to Mike, you know, we have this divot that was created in order to install the garage. And that will be removed. The slope will be more uniform. It'll be very similar to the example that I cited in my letter to Mike at 4629 Westlake Road, where we had exactly the same situation. We had slopes of the same percentage. We had soils of the same quality. And we achieved that by doing something really identical to what we're showing here. I'm looking at my drawing that I uploaded recently to the cloud, and relative to the setbacks for the garage on the RR30 parcel, I see an existing front setback of 5 feet, and I see on our proposed condition, proposed setback of 5.1 feet. Now, there is, however, a 3.9 foot
Right.
Setback to the retaining wall. It's intended to hold the wastewater system.
And that's from the right-of-way line?
Yes,
And which right-of-way line? Because there's two, right? There's a,
the closest to it.
okay.
We learned that there was a right of way taking that made our lot even smaller,
Yep.
so we took it to that.
This septic system this is fairly new system design, right? Is it the Elgin? Elgin's?
Yeah, this is an
Yeah.
Elgin, which is a passive system that helps aerate the wastewater. And we did something exactly the same way at 4629.
I think the town's installing this system out in Ononda for the cabins, the new cabins, uphill.
It's the most efficient system we can come up with in this particular application to
Yeah.
minimize the footprint of the field.
So the way it functions, you have a gravity line into a wet well, then pumps it under the road,
Mhm,
under the new garage.
correct,
Two separate lines that then split.
right,
One goes north, one goes south.
right.
How's Tyler gonna feel about having the force main underneath the garage?
Well, I think it's, I didn't have a discussion with Tyler about that, but I expect I will have a discussion with, the New York State Health Department about that.
Mhm.
What we can do in this particular case is sleeve the force mains in a larger diameter pipe, so if it needs to be serviced, it can be extracted without damaging the garage foundation. And I did see a comment that came from Tyler that I thought was a good comment. You know, he indicated that, you know, it's not, you know, DOH isn't guaranteeing that they're going to approve this thing. Normally they do with, you know, a certain amount of effort, but if the board wants to make these variances conditioned on acceptance from the health department, that's perfectly fine with us. We're gonna need waivers from the health department because of the slopes that we're mitigating, of the close proximity of the structure of the building. We'll need their support as well.
Okay, let's get back on the lakeside.
So just quickly, there's
Sure.
a discussion related to, on the septic that allows for a pump up system to heat moss module. That was the discussion that took place at ECB, and was looking for those right now. And that's potentially an alternative that could mitigate the area that's required and the trees required to be taken down on that side. That may be something.
A peat module system is a treatment system, but ultimately you have to have a dispersal area. And the kicker on any of these, whether it's peat or Elgin or anything else, is you have to have that area. And that's what we're creating with the retaining walls. So whether it's peat or Elgin or Presby or whatever, you still need that area to accept the treated effluent.
Understood. I guess my recommendation would be to take a look at what system minimizes the square footage and needs to clear cut on that area, see if it can be reduced.
Okay,
I would also suggest taking a look at the natural resource inventory that's on and identify the MRI that is there, so that they can see that and then have a strong plan for the landscaping plan and come back, which I know you'll be very clear on. Sorry, Chuck.
Oh, that's all right. Just making notes here. Okay, back on the lakeside. So Scott, you said if you move the building further from the lake, it's then closer to the road, obviously.
mhm.
So I guess, which is the better of two two issue? Would you rather have the structure close to the road, further from the lake, or closer to the lake, or a smaller structure? I mean, that is one option. Just maybe you're just, you know, oversaturating the what area you have to work with there. Patios. Yeah, the patios are adding. That's really affecting the set porch and the porches. Gets up high. I guess the other good news is you're getting it up 2 feet higher than the old house was, so you're
Mhm.
you're providing that. And the other thing you mentioned earlier, something about you would have, in the interest of moving the house, you'd have to sacrifice the collection system, the stormwater collection system.
Yeah, I think that we could just simply show grading around the house, and we wouldn't need to show what we currently show here, which is like a yard inlet system that's going around, pick up the water around the house. That's what's necessary under a first floor entry, which is why you see so many steps there. The steps would be reduced, the house could come closer to the right of way, and that would increase the separation between the house and the lake shore.
What's your plan for off-street parking?
Off-street parking is challenging. You can park in the garage, you can park in front of the garage. They do currently park along the street as well. Along the shoulder and onto their property. That's what they currently do.
Right now, there's the garage, and there's
And there's
room
a,
out front, you can park between them.
yeah, there's a little,
And then there's a offset parking area.
yeah, there's a little parking area that's been excavated out of there.
That's a concern. I mean, yeah.
Well, it's gonna be a 2-car garage, so we can put 2 cars in the garage. We can put 2 cars in the driveway. That's 4. And then I imagine there might be a few others under a peak situation along the side of the road, as I've seen there previously.
Okay, so there would obviously be no parking on the lakeside
Right,
unless they park on the road.
right.
Okay,
I don't have a lot to work with here. I'm trying to do my best with what I have.
have they worked on the architectural design of the house yet?
They have, and I can, did I submit elevations on that?
I
can't remember if I
I
did.
didn't see them. And that's more of a discussion for the site plan, but
But yes, we do have, some preliminary architectural plans.
okay.
And we submitted those to Tyler for his assessment of the wastewater system size.
Okay, well, do we have a recommendation to give to the ZBA regarding what is being asked for in terms of the variances, the changes of the pre-existing conditions, or the holding of the pre-existing conditions, or the improvement of the pre-existing conditions? Somebody tell me what we need to say. Mark, do you have something you can?
Yeah, I don't know how to suggest approval of the variances for this one.
Or a modification of maybe not all of them, maybe some of them, or none seem appropriate, is that what you're saying?
I think so.
You're saying that you're like okay with the variance, you don't know how to word it, or you're saying you don't
I'm
want?
saying that especially specifically on the area on the lake side, I don't know how to approve anything that's beyond the existing footprint that's there now. So expanding the pre-existing non-conformity seems to create an issue for me. I don't know how to approve that. Where I could consider doing something is probably on the other side to get a conforming septic system. But we should be looking at all alternatives to minimize the impact for the local steep slopes and the outflows that are over there. So I think that's where I could recommend making some concession, but on the lakeside, I think it's got to stay in the footprint of what's there.
I don't know if I agree with Mark totally on that, because their side setbacks. That house is not as wide as what it could be.
Mhm.
And you've made it wider than. If I make my comment correctly here. Your proposed house is wider north to south than it is current house. So that footprint can grow without coming into nonconformity. It actually. This north side, well, the north side is,
North side, we have room.
you have room, it's 44 feet right now, current. Setback, and you're proposing 11.5. Which is, it's well within the code.
What does that do with coverage?
Well, coverage is no storage. We haven't even talked about that, but. I think like you said, Scott, nail it, it's a tough site.
Yeah, I think with coverage, I think we were just a hair over on coverage.
Yeah, that was the other thing. Both building and lot, just. So if you made a smaller structure, it could give you some relief on your setbacks as well as get you under the building lot coverage.
Possibly
Okay.
moving your house a little bit. Cutting your porch down a little bit.
Okay.
I don't know, I mean. I also look, Mark, at the board as the other houses around that area. And it's not outside the realm of the community area. There's a huge house to the north of that, that's wide open on that hillside. There's one to the south that's open,
No question, but that's, I mean, the reason.
yeah,
The reason that we've been trying to correct the need for variances is because of the problems that those types of structures create. So just because it's been done before, doesn't justify continuing to do it.
yeah, that's my thought.
Which then becomes another precedent setting variance. Once you grant another one.
And you're seeing variances that they're just, I mean, very high percentage of them are disapproved. So we're not correcting the issues.
Would you like me to make some changes in return and?
Yeah, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, board, what we're saying is. We like the idea, the concept that you're gonna put new septic, up-to-date septic system. That is certainly a benefit to the lake and, you know, it's. Even though it's a holding tank, but you never know with holding tanks. Whether they leak or overflow. But then looking on the lakeside where the house is. Something closer to what's. There now in terms of square footage and. Try to come up with a lot coverage that's close to what currently exists. Is that something that's possible?
Yeah, I'll speak with the architect.
Is that something that the board should, in other words, reduce or eliminate the variances on the lakeside and whatever variances are required to put the septic system in? Looking at, as Mark said, maybe some other systems that may be less intensive as in terms of ground coverage, if that's possible. Not sure if there is.
And I guess if, with the septic system review, like, I would wanna see that. Like, those other options have been weighed, like you had noted with the Moss option from the ECB minutes, like, here's why this doesn't work, or here's why we didn't go with this, or here's why we considered it, but it ultimately doesn't work, you know, like. The
Sure.
decision-making
Okay.
steps.
Is there any proposed changes to the landscape and trees on the lakeside?
Well, many of the trees will be coming down, and that's why I brought in a landscape architect to come up with a landscape plan. There's a preliminary one as part of our drawing so far. It's down there, there you go.
That would actually, the trees that are there would help a lot of the nutrient issues related to heating and clear from the septic.
Right now, you have a lot of green on the lakeside,
Mm-hmm.
so, and mature stuff. So
Mhm.
you wouldn't necessarily. I don't know what the view from the lake would be, or whether it would be impacted at all from the loss of trees on the west side of the road.
Okay,
If those weren't touched.
I can get our landscape architect to weigh in on that, because he's gonna have to produce the shoreline guideline statement.
Yeah.
Just for clarity, and what Peter's saying, I think what he's referring to is because those trees are so large there now, if those were left alone. You probably might not even see what happens on the leaf shed from the lake over.
The ones that are on the lakeside, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, there's one massive one there that's in really bad condition.
Yeah.
Um,
They have two of them, it's ivy over.
Those firs have, or whatever.
yeah, if
they
you
are.
visited the site, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I don't see those being saved.
They're pretty much mature.
You think they're in the wetland?
I would say so. I would not
Yeah.
want them near my house.
Kim, you want to pull up that picture that you took of the back of the house? I think that shows the
Mhm.
trees in the back.
Yeah, it does.
Maybe,
It shows the cottage and the. and the tree.
yeah, it shows the back of the cottage from the lake. ECB. One's in front, one's back there.
Yeah, there's actually one on to the right side,
Yeah.
a very large one that's just about ready to fall down.
What kind of shape are those two, the ones that have the ivy on them?
Oh, I'm not sure. I think those are okay, actually.
Okay.
But I don't see how we can do our projects and keep.
No, yeah, at least one of them maybe. On the front.
That one on the south side, maybe?
Yeah, the one on the south side is not being affected, I don't believe, between the two
Yeah.
cottages.
Okay, well,
I'd be happy to come back with, more.
yeah,
More
I know you
information.
have a date with the ZBA next week. It's up to you, you and your clients. I pause to, if you want to postpone that to come up with an amended plan or.
I think I would like to come up with an amended plan, just because I think elevating the house. Based on what I mentioned from a recent conversation with the architect, I think that's a significant change. That's a positive. And I think we can, with a few modifications, closely agree with at least better most of the setbacks for the lake house.
How do we want to convey, well, if if you ask for a continuation or the ZBA hearing. Then I guess. It's not that critical, that we get something to them based, knowing that you're gonna revise it anyway.
Should I not attend the ZBA meeting and wait until we've had a chance to speak about this again before going to the ZBA?
What do you think, sir?
I think that's up to you, then you could request a continuation, or you could go and have discussion and still request a continuation, letting them know that you plan to come back. That you're considering it, I mean. I guess that's, is the planning board ready to make their recommendation regarding the potential impacts of variance requests to increase the non-conforming rear yard setback? That's what you've been asked to do. So if you're not quite ready, and you're in agreement, that you might want to make the interest, then I think it would be fair.
Well, I think our recommendation would be what we discussed tonight. And based on our discussion, I think the applicant is considering, well, maybe I just ought to redo this amendment plan. I mean, we can put it in writing,
Yep.
that recommendation.
And then take the updated plan to the zoning board? Okay,
Yep, and then
okay,
you come back to see us with site plan.
that's true. I'll be back to see it for site plan. I'll get through that.
You can't get away from us. We get you up
I'll
front
be here for a
and
while.
in the back. We enjoy your company.
Oh.
All right, so have you been taking notes?
Yes. Because.
Can you
someone's
do a
gotta write your
recommendation or-
recommendation.
You right?
Well, if I don't have to do it. It'd be great.
I know the last time you did this, Chris Nadler wrote it, so I decided to take. this.
Kind of-
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know.
Okay, well, we'll have Sarah put the recommendation. What a look.
Not exactly 100% sure.
Or I can write it up, or,
I'll send you my notes tomorrow morning.
okay, all right.
Maybe just a recap.
And then
of what-
eventually, what we do is we send it out to the board and they thumbs up or correct it,
Yep.
and then it gets to Chip. Okay? All right,
Okay,
very good.
thank you very
Thanks.
much for the discussion.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Health site, you said, yeah. All righty. Logan, you're here for extension on County Route 16? Yes. All right, we'll take care of you. I don't think anybody else is here. Okay, let's jump down to 2024-150. Extension request, first 90-day extension request for the Turk property. And I guess you need to know the reason for the extension request.
So as you know, this is a pretty substantial site with a lot of moving parts. And one of the conditions that we saw was application for a building permit. It's part of the condition, so we were under the impression that we needed to have full construction documents as well as a contractor to start that application. As of right now, talking to the architect, they're like 6 months out to finish all the drawings. So that application has not been started, nor have they picked a contractor. They're still bidding out a multitude of things to make this happen. I believe all the other conditions have been completed. I'm not sure if we've submitted all of those as of right now. But just reviewing it today, I believe all those other conditions have been met. It's just that one that's kind of outstanding. I know I talked to Sarah about this, and she was saying that we can start the application, but that's also talking to code enforcement and seeing what level of the application needs to be completed in order to make it that condition complete. So that's kind of the conversation I wanted to have, is what percentage of completion does that application have to be done for us to get the sign off on that? And that's why we got the extension, because, I mean, we were waiting for stuff from the architect and contractors and things of that nature, thinking that we needed to have that information for the application.
Okay. Does your extension request also involve the DOH? Or has that been taken? care of?
That's contingent on for C of O. That has nothing to do with approval, which is, it states that in the condition.
So it's primary hangup is with the architect, and I, it's not an answer the board can give, I don't think it's.
But it's not consistent condition on all the projects that I've done with the town, having that be part of the condition. So what's the reasoning for having an application submitted to the town for signatures on the plans? Because our firm doesn't usually control that part of the application. That's where we hand it off to the architects and the contractors to fill that out.
This is the the application for the
Building
permits.
Yeah, building permit. That's usually
I-
coordinated with code
I
enforcement.
See, Mike, you put your name up there. I see you're sitting in on this. Murph, do you have any comments on this? If not, just let me know. Yep, you wanna let Murph in?
Can you hear me?
Yep. Hi, Mike.
So our main concern with having projects delayed is primarily due to the unknown as for when the new 2024 building code will become effective and what changes that will have as far as utilities, building placement, etc. So that would be my only concern with this one, especially due to the possibility that sprinklers will have to be included in all single family and two family residential structures.
Does that have an effect on the site plan?
It could. I know right now the condition stands that a building permit needs to be submitted, and in order for a building permit to be submitted, we would need full architecturals, as well as insurance information from contractors. And my concern is that if there is no real timeline for construction, we would just have a building permit application sitting there with a possible code change in the future.
Okay.
I just know based on the complexity of this project, construction documents are not going to be complete in even this 90-day extension. And what happens with other projects that are like this, like, I don't want to come back and redo this whole thing because you were all part of that and it took us a while to get to where we are today. So I'm looking for
Okay.
options to make sure that we're getting this designed properly and moving this along.
Well, in your approval, you got an approval with conditions.
Right.
And how many of those conditions have been met and how many have yet to be met? I mean, that's the only
I
thing.
believe all of the ones that have been met, the only one that is up in the air for me is the building permit.
Read the condition to us.
It might be a little hard.
Oh.
I have,
You have it?
which one do you want?
I guess the one that's still outstanding.
It says 3 separate site development building permit applications are to be completed for each lot and provided to the town of Canandaigua Development Office prior to the planning board chairman's signature being affixed to the site.
That's your hang up.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's my hang up.
so that's the only condition you have remaining.
Correct.
Sorry, let me speak out, I just let me know too, there's a couple that I know is open here.
I don't know if they are not right now. I'd have to go through absolutely everything right now to tell you.
Well, I think the ones that are open are the ones that are kind of in correspondence with other agencies. I think we
Having been addressed prior to signature, but there might be other ones that are.
well, we just have to send in the emails and make sure that those are done, but from review of those today, I believe we have all those correspondences that just need to be sent to the town.
Okay, board, we know what the issue is. We know, I think we know why the request is being made. Do you have any issues with granting the first 90-day extension?
So.
No,
Can I
but
just ask a question? Typically, under normal circumstances, we do 2 90-day extensions. Because this.
it's justifiable reasons, you know.
Yeah, because this is a complicated site, and how many new buildings are there? How many building? Three building permits?
There's 2 houses and a garage.
So the conditions were for 3 building permits? Was it
3 site development
site
building
development?
permits.
Okay.
Well, I think the third one might be for the driveway on the, to access the,
1 for each parcel.
yeah.
So your point being,
The point being that it's a complicated site
Mhm.
and there might even be justification for an additional 3rd extension.
well,
That's
Worry
kind of
about
what
that if
it
it happens.
hinting at. I mean, is that something that we can talk about, or is it kind of something that we talk about when we get there?
Talk about when we get there.
Okay, fair enough.
Is it possible to do this like in phases?
I don't think that's their intention. I think they're trying to do everything at once,
I know,
but I just know there's talking with the architect and seeing the bids. I mean, there's a lot going on, and I can't say one way or another what direction they're gonna go in. I imagine there is potential to phase it, but right now they're doing construction documents for the biggest structure.
Yeah, I was
Which
wondering
is-
if you, within 90 days, is one of the permits that you need is the driveway and all that stuff.
Mhm.
So I mean, is that feasible within 90 days? I don't know. That's what I'm trying to get.
I don't
Can
know.
you get something
But
done?
It's
the
not
time.
really up to me.
Yeah.
I've kind of passed the ball to the architect and the GC to figure that out.
You're asking for the whole thing and you're not gonna get it in 90 days and you're fearful
Well,
of not
I
gonna get
just
it in
talking-
80 days.
Yeah, well, I'm just talking with the architect. He says detailing these structures is gonna take him 6 months.
Well, why did he wait so long to start? And I know. maybe
Well, he
that's-
started as soon as the approvals were done and all the changes that we were gonna make to the structure were complete. I mean, this is a huge house and
Oh, no, and two large.
yeah,
houses.
so I mean, if you think about it, it makes sense that it would take that long. But the approval process doesn't really allow for freedom of design and construction documents.
And this change in the building code is not gonna make it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's what even more perplexing is like, what if we do need to make significant changes to the plans and then it goes on even further, which like Mike said, there is a possibility.
Okay. Well, again, where do you feel comfortable enough? There's enough of justification here to grant it? 90 days and we'll go from there. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Okay. Somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make that a motion to approve a 90-day extension. I don't have the CPN if I make it. CPN 23-109. For this resolution, 90-day.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion second, new expiration date will be March 23rd. You may see you
Yeah,
at that time again, but
there's a chance.
hopefully you can work it out.
Well, yeah, I'll
Okay.
have a conversation and see if we can bash
Okay.
that, but.
Okay, we got a motion and a second, all in favor?
I,
Thank you. All right, the other extension we have is, okay, thanks, Liz. The other extension we have is, request we have is 2024-148. County Route 28. Out on, 28, I'm trying to seek 90-day extension. Mr. Scarrett. Mr. Scarrett, and his reasoning being. He's trying to find an architect, that's right.
because they're still working to secure the services of an architect. And
Anyone here representing the applicant? If not, I guess,
I hope they don't have the same architect.
maybe they're competing.
This is hardest. We can't do two things at once.
All right, I think it's something that's happening out there. Architects are stretched pretty thin, I guess. So it's looking for an architect. So if you know an architect, well, Mr. Scarrett. Can I get a motion for 90-day extension?
I'll move to approve the 90-day extension for CPN 24028. At County Route 28.
I'll second.
Okay. And I guess it should be noted that the original deadline was November 24th.
That's what I had.
And so we're going 90 days from that date, which only gets us to next month. Okay. Yeah, that's. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, let's do the minutes real quick from December 10th. Anybody have any additional correction above and beyond what Corinne sent out as the final draft? If not, I have a motion to accept the minutes.
So moved.
There's a motion. And a second?
Just to make sure I was there.
I'll second it.
I seconded it.
Bob seconded.
I didn't hear him.
I'm sorry, I'll speak up.
Okay, thank you, Corinne, for another job well done. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we have no releases. Thank you for responding, those who responded in terms of additions to the contact information sheet. I will send the final draft out so you have it. So if you want to mail birthday cards or Christmas cards to board members, you can have their address. We have no referrals from town board, no referrals from anybody else. The New York Planning Federation Conference. I don't know if you saw the announcement, it's April 6th through the 8th. It's in Cooperstown this year. We have 2 spaces for planning board members. So anybody's interested, myself being one maybe, I haven't been to this conference in a long time, so I might go.
I will not be available to go, unfortunately.
Okay, so if anyone else wants to go, let us know. It's at the Otasaga Hotel, which is very nice in Cooperstown. And I haven't really looked at the agenda yet as far as what's on it, so see what's there. Okay, let's get back to the rules of procedure. If you got a couple of minutes, we'll maybe spend a little more time in these than we normally do because we have the time. Everybody have them out? Okay, is someone gonna track any corrections? Additions we make to this? So the adoption would be, of course, tonight, so that would be a change from 2024. 3B. Number 3, small 3. We also do surety releases as part of my signing documents, so that should be added along with the correspondence secret documents for subdivisions. Number 4, the ethics is chapter 21, still the appropriate town code, I guess. I think we just sort of every year just sort of assume that's it and skip over it.
Should we just say,
I can look
take
it
out
up.
the chapter 21 and just say for the. town
Yeah,
code?
governed by town code.
It is 21.
It is?
Yep.
Okay. Meeting schedule, everybody's just comfortable with second and fourth Tuesdays? Comfortable with the time?
Yep.
Yeah.
Notice of all meetings should be in accordance with New York law. Okay, that's fine.
I will ask, is the new cloud schedule the same schedule as this shows in here. In order. Well, the cloud schedule, this schedule is different than our old schedule.
What do you mean, how the?
So-
the minutes,
the
the
applications
agenda?
by-
Yeah, as per the agenda, is this all in order? Like sketch plans last, public first? It's hard to
You
tell
want us to
exactly.
check to make sure that the agenda is the order that the rules of procedure
Perfect.
states.
Yeah, perfect.
Are you recommending to change something on the rules of procedure?
No,
Do I have to put
we
that
changed it a
somewhere
couple of years
else?
ago to make sure that public was first, sketches are last, and kind of went flow. Yep. Extensions last.
I'm down to number 6. Do we still have to do the emergency evacuation procedure? Oh, That, that is one of my least favorite jobs. And no, I don't think any other boards or committees do it. I mean, I get one of these things, you know.
Best airport guy flying in.
So let's take it out. I think everybody knows what the door is.
If we have public here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we've required.
Well,
by
Tim, you're the
law or
sergeant at
something.
arms, so you would get people up and get them out. So let's take that out. 3. Just for point of reference, we have as part of the agenda, reports of the town engineer, planning board attorney, town staff, board member reports. We don't do that. I mean, I asked if anybody has anything additional. I don't think we have to. We don't show it on the agenda. There's no reason we should show it on the show it in the rules of procedure. Either that or put on the agenda and we'll call on Lance and call on Chris. But usually they somehow seem to get their 2 cents in if need be.
You want, those-
Yeah, it's just that section there. Then there's the request by applicants or the general public for the exercise of this discretion should be made during the conduct of the meeting. I'm looking at B, that last sentence. Trying to figure out what it means. No request by applicants or the general public for the exercise of this discretion should be made during the conduct. Well, I guess it applies to the sentence above. All right, leave it, no big deal. Okay, privilege of the floor. I think this is something you brought up, Mark. We here allow 5 minutes. And then when we get into discussions on an application, we allow 3 minutes. Is there any reason to have a different timing other than privilege of floor might take a little longer if it's a topic that's not on the agenda? Or do you want to be consistent?
That's the only reason I was asking.
Yep. I
It's
think
just
that's-
consistency. I don't really care. I mean, it seems like we keep them under pretty good control until something gets big and then we
Yeah.
bring it in. But this consistency is lightly confusing.
I've very rarely seen us even say stop.
Yeah.
We let them speak, whenever they need to say. Until,
No, again, just consistency, but there are two different things, so they can be different. I don't have a strong feeling anyway.
Yeah, I could see privilege of floor. It's something being brought up that's not on the agenda, it's sort of out of the blue. And maybe it might take the person a little longer to explain what the issue is. So, leave it the way it is.
well, it says unless you grant additional time.
Yeah.
Getting this stuff like that from them.
And it's that way on the 3 minutes too.
Yeah.
Okay, motion. Okay, agendas. it says that it should be prepared in advance of each meeting. Do we want to actually put a time before the meeting that we get the agendas, or? I guess we know pretty much from cloud that we can produce an agenda if we wanted it, so I guess,
The agendas aren't a problem.
no, I know you're gonna bring up.
Yeah, last
It's-
minute.
It's stuff that comes in, and that's something that comes up in a second.
The agendas actually seem pretty good. I don't see us changing the agendas very.
No, usually, I mean, Kim's been good about, she gets them out weeks for review, and then I guess they eventually get finalized in the cloud. May adjourn the meeting, okay, that's,
Yeah.
what we came up with last time.
Yeah. Chris is.
Okay, get on to 7D, draft agendas, application, other pertinent materials. For review of an application will be made available to the planning board members by the Tuesday prior to the meeting. Unless otherwise notified, final agendas. Proposed action items shall be available to board members by the Thursday before the meeting. So I think we wanna. What's the cutoff? Tuesday, the Tuesday before the meeting?
Well, that's not happening. You've said that before.
Well, I mean,
We've always said it.
that's why I'm bringing it up. I mean, if we wanna,
I mean, I would, me personally, this is my style. Most of it I will review again the weekend before.
yeah, that's what we all do now. In
And
fact,
that's it.
I could do it this afternoon.
Yeah, but well, doing it the day of is horrible.
Yeah.
Because it's, what I try to do is I try to collect it all mentally before I go to the site. I typically do a final site pass before the meeting that we hold it in. So getting it by Friday at noon will work for me, but it's tough. I mean, I know it's a ton of work, but even like the ECD stuff today, I value that very highly. So I want to be able to consider it, but I'm also not. I'm not giving it all a fair shot. It comes in the day of.
And not to mention that the applicant doesn't have time to review that either.
Yeah.
And have answers for us too. You know.
So do we leave it as Tuesday and hope we get it, or we cut it and that's the cutoff?
Or or if it shows up late, we say, sorry, it showed up late. Come back next month.
You can already say that. I mean. We can't stop people from uploading things into their application or adding things to the attachment. And you can't control another board's ability to provide minutes. What you can control is your decision on whether or not to consider anything that came in after the Tuesday. That's always been true. Yep.
But if someone should ask, when's the cutoff,
It's.
you tell them to
Tuesday
Tuesday.
before the meeting.
Yep, okay.
And we have it stated,
Yep.
in the file permit, we have it, I mean, it's written in other places. It's in your rules of procedure, we tell people, that the board might not consider, anything that you put in afterwards. So I mean, if they come to the meeting and say, I've got something new today, that's up to you guys, whether or not you want to.
Yep.
Include that in the conversation or continue it or what have you.
Okay.
I guess what was.
We just can't stop people from putting things.
No,
in
no,
there after the Tuesday.
in the old days, it was, they submitted something and you distributed it. But now with the cloud, it's showing up on their.
I mean, technically, I'm not suggesting that we want to, but technically, we probably could stop them. Realistically, there's
Yeah.
probably a mechanism within cloud that turns off the ability to submit. So I'm serious, it's a piece of software, so it probably has a trigger in there. I wouldn't be the first one to suggest this. I mean, the risk is that it comes across, it's my impression, comes across super unprofessional when I start hitting somebody with stuff. Like I was doing to Scott tonight. I don't know what to talk to him about septic systems. I felt bad to hit him with it. But I look at the impact of what that was happening in this, for example. So I'm looking for alternatives.
But
I
you
want
guys
to-
weren't asked to look at the septic system today,
Right.
Fair enough.
only the increased non-conforming variance.
Fair.
Yeah, but
So you had what you needed.
That's fair. I mean, it happens all the time. So it's just and I don't want to slow progress either. I just
But I
feel like
think-
they're gonna have to go.
Like in, a more typical application. Like we're still getting ECB like the same day as our meeting, but ECB has ruled on that and we're here to review like the site plan for it, like.
Nobody
It's-
listens, this is gonna sound terrible, nobody listens to them until it's gonna suddenly prevent them from doing something.
True, I understand what you're saying, I'm stating that. They have likely already heard or become aware of something. I don't know why Scott didn't know the ECB comments. Typically, the applicants
because
are like,
it's-
yes, we were there, blah, blah,
Because
blah,
he
we
wasn't
talked
there.
about it, right? Which
Message. didn't
with
make it
his
back.
special case where we're just reviewing it, and providing feedback, but not making action, not taking action on it. Like in a more typical case where we're taking action on a site plan. They have that ECB, yes, we get it same day, and I think we've gotten into a rhythm of, and Kim, thank you for doing that. I know that that's like
No, I'm
very
thinking-
chaotic to do, but I think as the rules of the procedure are written now, it gives the flexibility, and if there's a case where the ECB's comments come back same day, we're reviewing it with the applicant, and ECB's over here, applicants over here, then we say, no, we're not doing any, like, we still need to digest. The rules of procedure give us that,
For me.
we can
ECB
make
is
that
the bad example.
determination.
I trust the
Yeah.
ECB well enough,
Yeah.
that I'm happy to just regurgitate what they really in some cases.
So
But
in,
it's when we'll get a site plan change on the day of the meeting.
then we say, no, we're not acting on this, we need to review it.
We turn it into a dialogue. I'm just trying.
We
to-
do, but there have been a couple of cases where we've said,
Yeah.
we need to look at this for a little while.
All right. I like us, I enjoy us being consistent when we're communicating. And if one of us, just what it really does is, if I decide to abstain because I don't feel I've had enough time to review it. You guys, when somebody makes a motion, I look like the one that's unprepared for my meeting. Or whoever does that in the room. looks
I don't
unprepared.
think so.
No, I don't think so.
it would-
We're all individuals on it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think as long as it's in our rules and it's stressed by staff that you gotta have it in Tuesday. If they enter it on cloud permit sometime between Tuesday and the meeting, there's no way we can control that. Then it's up to us to, I guess, decide whether we're gonna accept it or not, depending on what it is and how voluminous the information is.
In reality, when I look at it like on Friday, I don't look and see when it was submitted. I just see the package I'm submitting and looking at it.
I saw it
reality,
was automatic
When I go back, I look at the
latest.
dates and anything was picked up after I last looked at it. Then I, oh, this is something new, it came in.
Yeah, I sorted more by modification.
Yeah, every time I go into it, no matter when I go into it, I click by the date.
Yeah,
And sort by date.
Yeah, yeah.
But half the time I'll show up here on Tuesday night and realize that, oops, I missed something yesterday. And I gotta catch up.
Okay, well, as far as the wording in the, I think as long as it's there,
I make them seek permission. to
The
get it.
staff emphasizes that's what our position is. We're at the mercy of them putting something in on their own volition, that could happen.
Are you suggesting you change?
No,
No,
please not.
nope. Yeah.
Public hearing there, we don't have a newspaper, we have a news, what's it called, paper?
So we have an app,
Yeah, we have an app, so I mean,
and that goes with my legal notices. I make that, it's just a question, I love the notification, yeah,
oh, do too, yeah.
but I know not everybody has it.
We send it a lot of different places.
But do we have a newspaper? No,
Yeah.
we have a newspaper.
It's still
I
the
mean,
DNS.
we don't have our own newspaper, but we send them, Kim sends the notices as required.
It's daily messenger, so.
Yeah,
I think I. last
The
time I
town
got-
board decides the newspaper and the radio station that we use for things like that, and so planning board utilizes the same newspaper, and it was very good about making sure they have it on the date that we are required to send it.
Okay, I'm reading ahead. Anybody else have anything as we move forward here? I'm up to,
The only other one I had, Chuck, is many municipalities are no longer requiring the address of the participant in the room for privacy reasons. I didn't know if there was a law or something out of that related to privacy, but they typically replace that with replace the request for address with something like town residence. And what I've seen is most of them just ask for their name. I don't mind having a little bit of control there. I don't know if we have an obligation not to, since these are all on YouTube and everything now. Do we have a privacy expectation that because we're requiring them to state their address? Could we be switching that to just maybe town residents? I live in the town of King Bay or city of King Bay, we're a town of EB today.
Chris?
yeah.
Yeah. That's my last question that I had.
I mean, if somebody says, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna give you my address, maybe you don't push them on it, but. You know, it's not like, well, if you don't give me your address, you can't testify. It's not one of those things. I think most people are willing to say where they live.
I don't know if we have a requirement.
In fact, a lot of people get up and it's almost they're proud that I'm a neighbor and I'm here to, you
I
know.
know, I agree with you. My reason for asking is I don't know if somewhere there's a state requirement that says that we're not supposed to publicize somebody's address. I don't know that. That's the only reason I suggested it, because I have seen a number of other townships specifically stop people from giving their address.
I'm looking at the conducting public meetings and hearings document from the Department of State. It doesn't mention anything about getting people's addresses. So, it's not some sort of requirement.
I know in petitions. We usually ask, well, a lot of times they come in with the addresses. So that we know that they have, they have the, the dog in the game.
Should we ask Mr. Danford if there's any
My only thought was whether or not. again,
implications?
I don't
Yeah.
care. I only care if we're doing something wrong and because of the way we publicize the meetings now because they're recorded.
One that you on the draft, just where it says, you know where that was? It says, we'll provide names and addresses for the record and just maybe bold the addresses with a question mark.
It's 8.
We can ask Chris.
Section 8E.
8B.
8 Edward Echo.
8E. All persons speaking in person or via video shall provide their names and addresses.
So would you guys like to remove the address requirement unless Chris Nadler says you need to leave it in?
If it's not in violation of any laws, I'd like to leave it in.
So leave it.
Leave it.
You want to
But
keep
if-
asking for their address.
What if Chris says that, oh, you can't ask for their address, and somebody says it with some authority.
Personal addresses. and address.
Okay, page 7, planning board, okay, that's the organization. Planning board shall convene the second week of January each year to reorganize. Applications requiring variances will be scheduled for the second planning board meeting after the required variances are granted. Okay, that's when we changed last year. Once we get this thing finalized, the current rules of procedure on the website under the planning board are the zoning, the ZBA's rules of procedure. So I think just just wait, when we change ours or adopt ours. Which hopefully we'll do tonight.
Unfortunately, when we moved to the new website, a lot of things got really strange. And I did see that one. I thought we fixed it. I'm sorry. We'll make sure that's fixed.
Okay, the exhibit A is still hanging around our neck. It's having to do with the Fox Ridge. Fortunately, we haven't seen any of it. Now that I mentioned it, my neighbor cut some branches off. And lastly, the remote policies that changed at all? The town board hasn't changed theirs, I guess.
So it feels silly to me that we need to notify where we are.
Well, that was penned by our solicitor and
I think that was because the public law states that if we are not here, we have to tell them where we are so they can come to us and sit in on our meetings. They have the right. Public has a
You're
right.
telling me that if I'm in California.
They have the right.
From the
Yeah.
community
well,
up there.
it used to be a lot worse.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hang
That would be fun, actually.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind that.
It used to be you had to be accessible for someone who wanted to come to your remote location. I mean, it was
Yeah.
when it first started. And you could vote, and you couldn't vote, and
Right, yeah, yeah.
you had to have a nameplate,
2025.
your name was. All right. I think we beat that up enough. Does somebody want to make a motion to adopt the rules of procedure as amended? Or do you want to see them?
Can I,
I'm happy making that motion.
I hope so.
I'll make the motion to accept them.
And I will second it. We have a motion, a second, for discussion on our rules of procedure for 2025. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you for cleaning up with that.
I mean, that's one.
Once a year we go.
Okay.
All right, anybody have anything else?
Anybody go to training jail?
Well, that was a fine question. I was gonna say, what happens if you don't make the training? I exceeded mine. With my carryover.
Oh, your training hours? They do carry over, right?
Yes,
You.
they do carry over.
Yeah, if I this year, I'll be done with my term.
Yeah. Okay, Tim, thanks for sitting in.
Shall we?
Shall we
Okay.
dance?
I will make a motion to adjourn at 7:43 p.m.
Okay, all in favor?
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
I thought I heard a second.
Yep.
Okay, thank you all. Thanks, Kim.
Okay.
Thanks. Carrie.
Since you